I honestly couldn't believe my eyes. I pulled up to my own driveway after a long day at work, and what do I see? Two guys in security uniforms, looking way too serious, standing right by my gate. At first, I thought maybe there was an Oak Ridge neighborhood alert or something. I rolled down my window, ready to ask what was going on. One of them, a stocky guy with a clipboard, walks right up to my car. He doesn't even say hello. He just taps on my window with his pen and says, "We need to talk." Talk about what? I was completely baffled. Then he drops the bombshell. "We're here on behalf of the HOA. You need to come with us and issue a formal apology too. Mrs. Higgins, Mrs. Higgins." Brenda, of course it was her. My mind instantly flashed back to last weekend. All I did was have a small get-together in my backyard. We had some music playing, nothing crazy, just some background tunes. But apparently, for Brenda, it was the concert of the century. She had called the cops who came, saw nothing was wrong, and left. I thought that was the end of it. Clearly, I was wrong. The guard continued. She filed a formal complaint for emotional distress due to the excessive noise. The board has reviewed it, and they've decided an in-person apology is the only way to resolve this. I just stared at him. An apology? For what? Enjoying my own property. I told him, "You've got to be kidding me. I'm not apologizing for anything." That's when things got really weird. The other guard, who had been silent until now, steps forward and says, "Sir, we've been instructed not to leave until you comply. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." The hard way? What were they going to do? Drag me out of my car. I looked at them, then at my house, then back at them. They had literally set up camp chairs right next to my gate. A cooler, a thermos, the whole 9 yards. They were planning to stay. This wasn't just a simple request. It was a full-blown siege on my own home, orchestrated by the HOA and Queen Brenda herself. I couldn't believe this was happening. I just wanted to go inside, kick off my shoes, and relax. Instead, I was in a standoff with two glorified hall monitors, who were holding my own driveway hostage. I decided to call their bluff. I told them, "Look, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not apologizing. You can sit there all night for all I care. This is my property." I put the car in park and just sat there. They sat there. We were in a silent battle of wills right in the middle of a quiet suburban street. Neighbors started peeking out their windows, wondering what the commotion was about. A few minutes felt like an hour. My pizza was getting cold in the passenger seat. Finally, I had an idea. I wasn't going to let them win. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "So," I said, pointing the camera at them, "could you guys explain to my followers why the HOA thinks it's okay to hire private guards to intimidate a resident of their own home?" Their faces changed instantly. Their confidence vanished. The clipboard guy started stammering. "Hey, put that away. You can't record us." I just smiled. "Oh, I can, and I am. This is my property, remember? And you're currently trespassing." I kept the camera rolling, narrating the whole ridiculous situation. I explained the party, Brenda's complaint, and now this insane escalation. The guards looked at each other, clearly not prepared for this. They were probably just expecting me to cave. They started whispering to each other, occasionally glancing back at my phone. The power dynamic had completely shifted. They weren't in control anymore. I was. They were the ones who looked foolish, sitting there in their little camp chairs on a mission for a woman who couldn't handle the sound of a little music. After about 10 minutes of me live streaming their pathetic stakeout, the clipboard guy's phone rang. He walked a few feet away to answer it, and I could tell from his body language he was getting an earful. He kept saying, "Yes, ma'am. I understand, ma'am," when he's recording. I knew exactly who was on the other end of that line. It had to be Brenda or one of her cronies from the HOA board, probably watching my live stream. He hung up the phone, looking completely defeated. He walked back over to his partner, mumbled something, and they started packing up their chairs. Just like that. They didn't even look at me. They just packed their cooler, got into their little security car that was parked down the street, and drove off. No goodbye, no we'll be back. Nothing. They were gone. I let out a huge sigh of relief and finally pulled into my driveway. The victory felt so sweet. I'd stood my ground, and I had won. But it also left a really sour taste in my mouth. How could an HOA have this much power? How could they think it was acceptable to try and strong-arm a resident like that? It was a complete abuse of authority. The next day, I didn't get an apology from the HOA. Of course not. But I did get an email. It was a notice that the complaint from Mrs. Higgins had been resolved and closed. No details, no explanation, just a quiet little retreat. They knew they had overstepped, and my little live stream had forced their hand. They didn't want that kind of publicity. This whole experience taught me a valuable lesson. When you're dealing with an out-of-control HOA, sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Or in this case, fight their intimidation with public exposure. Brenda still gives me the stink eye whenever she drives by, but she hasn't tried anything since. I think she finally learned that I am not the type of person you can just bully into submission. And as for the guards, I doubt they'll be accepting any more special assignments from my HOA anytime soon. The best part? My video of the incident got thousands of views, with hundreds of comments from people sharing their own HOA horror stories. It felt good to know I was not alone and that my ridiculous ordeal could actually help others feel empowered to stand up for themselves too. So, if you're ever in a similar spot, remember, know your rights. Don't be afraid to document everything and never ever apologize to a Brenda. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to Care and Conflict for more stories.